Kieran Gillen and Valerio Schiti pass the final judgment down as Eros, the Eternals, and the X-Men race to unite all of Earth's people in love and peace in hopes that it will stop the Progenitor from killing them all. Kieran Gillen moves into the final act of his Judgment Day storyline with the big issue that sees our heroes gather together under Eros' plan to use his powers to unite Earth. Gillen utilizes Eros and his abilities really well here, and in a way not really used before, all thanks to a cool new direction for his character where instead of being just some intergalactic pervert, he decides it's time for him to step up and be of some use. It's a fun direction for him, and one Gillen ties to everything he's been building with Thanos and his cursed family within the pages of his Eternal run, culminating in Eros actually becoming the new Prime Eternal, which was something I didn't actually see him wanting to do, but I'm intrigued to see where that part of the story goes from here. Gillen also doubles down on the meta commentary of the whole event, with the world falling into chaos and ripping people apart from one another and hate spreading everywhere, almost like the real world over the last couple of years. Valerio Schiti again paints the end of the world with colourful forever and massive cinematic scope. I love Schiti's new Eros design, invoking David Bowie 100% while also making it wholly its own and invoking other parts of Eros' previous costumes from throughout the years. The final page with Captain America against the might of the Progenitor and being the last one left standing and using his shield to block its blow was just beautiful and easily a contender for a cool new poster I'd love to own. Judgment Day issue 4 took us headlong into the back half of the event and ends on a bleak cliffhanger that, while could go off in any direction, is bound to be a lot of fun and spectacular to explore. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Judgment Day issue 4 sees Captain America trying to calm the rioting people in New York outside the treehouse, as Progenitor knows that the test he is doing cannot be shirked, and Steve failed his test and is praying others won't, trying to inspire others not to kill each other. It doesn't work, however, and someone throws a Molotov cocktail at him as he tells the people they are going to live, continuing to try and inspire them, but people push their way up the vines, attacking Captain America, as Progenitor knows that Steve needs to believe the world is fundamentally a good place, but they will see soon enough if it is. At Avengers Mountain, Cersei tells them of her classic plan, which involves Eros using his emotional manipulation powers on the machine to broadcast peace and love to the entire world, and they were all fake being just together long enough to pass the test. Eros refuses to do that though, since he will fail the test if he uses his powers like that, and they need to believe love can win. Cersei tells him that this isn't a game anymore, wanting him to take this seriously, and Eros knows he is, knowing that they are wasting time. Progenitor knows he is right, as elsewhere in the world, the Celestial judges more people, failing a man named Tom who was beaten up because of his ethnicity, failing Luke Cage, Mayor of New York, who fails by default thanks to being a politician. Thor Odinson continues to battle Themex in orbit and passes thanks to Progenitor reading the inscription on his hammer, wondering how could he not be worthy. Kamala Khan meanwhile attacks the Progenitor that appears to her as Captain Marvel, offering her and her family a way off of Earth to a higher power, and thanks to attacking him, Kamala passes the test. Progenitor continues judging people, giving a thumbs down to Xavier, who is too busy to even deal with it, while Eros continues meeting with other powerful dignitaries from around the world, including T'Challa, talking to them about his plan, as Brandy Selby, the Star Brand, passes, as does Doctor Doom, who laughs in the face of the Progenitor when it tells him to say Reed Richards is a smarter man than him. Progenitor also passes the several people connected to the Hex, leaving only Arjun's grief-stricken mother and the young Kenta, as Daredevil is given the thumbs down, causing him to cry under his mask. Miles Morales gives the thumbs up to who he thinks is Spider-Man, but is really the Progenitor. Eros meanwhile addresses the UN, wanting them all to think of hedonism in a different way from his usual ways, since they will survive because they love life. Eros says that they need to have to choose life over death now, and while mutants offered technology before, now they offer more, and if they all agree to these human rights and environmental concerns, they will have access to celestial technology and the Eternals will help them build a paradise. Sebastian Shaw meanwhile meets with Eros after his speech, impressed with his work on such a hard time limit, but the plan will piss many people off, but he wonders if Eros will really speak for all of the Eternals. Eros agrees and tells Cersei that they need to do something about Druig since he's spoiling the vibe. Tony suggests they just go and beat him up since he's got a very punchable face, but Cersei knows it's not easy for non-Eternals to enter their domains and they are locked off, and they would have to sabotage key elements of the Great Machine to change that. Ajax thinks their best hope would be to communicate with the Celestial and do the tests, but Sinister says that if they do nothing, then everything will just get worse. Iron Man finds himself agreeing with Sinister, wanting to show Ajax footage of Uranos' rampage on Araco and how he killed thousands, even downing Magneto. He asks what's stopping Uranos from doing this to Earth, and Eros tells him nothing, but the only thing actually stopping him right now is that Druig is not desperate enough to use him yet. Cersei thinks it's time to use the Unimind and the other Eternals who aren't loyal to Druig to their advantage. Druig meanwhile seeks out Uranos for guidance, asking how his people want him to form the Unimind and bring everyone into it, including the Hex. Uranos thinks that's a good plan since then he'll be able to use the Unimind's war forms, which are very formidable, but the alternative is unleashing him. Druig refuses to do that just yet as he calls for all of the Eternals to join the Unimind, unleashing its war form on Krakoa. The spider-like alien creature begins its attack as Cersei and the other Eternals race to the Unimind, merging with it to confront Druig, who hopes they have come to join him. Cersei asks if he really thought that he had loyalists amongst them and it was really them that were messaging him to get the Unimind together, as Eros calls for a vote on Prime Eternal. Cersei learns that Icarus and Gilgamesh have finished their infiltration deep into the machine, disabling the Unimind firewalls which allow the X-Men to join the Unimind with Cersei and Eros. The mutants all vote for Eros to be the new Prime Eternal as Uranos tells Druig that the only way he can win this is if Druig unleashes him, since his powers will allow him to turn the tide of the vote and he is his only chance. Desperate enough to do it, Druig orders the machine to unleash Uranos, who immediately betrays Druig, telling him that he wouldn't help him even if he wasn't a crushing disappointment. Druig is cast from the Unimind as Eros becomes the new Prime Eternal, and outside on Krakoa, Exodus proceeds to beat Druig down as across the world, Uranos' armies are unleashed, utterly decimating much of the world as the machine is sealed by the villain, trapping Icarus and Gilgamesh inside. Nightcrawler hopes that they can fight Uranos, but the villain has already taken them out, but Cersei knows their backup involves a full force from Mars. Iron Man meanwhile tells Storm and Magneto that they are good to go, and he thinks that he can force open one of the portals Uranos' armories are using to assault Araco, allowing them to get straight to him at the center of the Great Machine. He asks them to charge up an EMP, knowing Magneto and Storm can easily handle that, blasting open one of the portals and allowing Magneto and Storm to confront Uranos, while Iron Man takes to the computer systems. Magneto says that his enemies always thought him to be heartless, and now he literally is, thanks to Uranos. Progenitor knows that Magneto deleted himself from the database to prove himself and his people to form an alliance with Mars, and he wonders if the mutants will stay true to themselves as the mutants attack Uranos, asking Iron Man if they've bought him enough time. Iron Man's hack finishes up and Magneto gets full control of Uranos' portal, and the full force of the armories is unleashed on Uranos, beating him down and locking him back in his cell as Magneto falls over dead again. Progenitor waits to see if he'll call on Xavier or one of his friends to help him, but he doesn't, so Progenitor takes on the form of his daughter, letting only Eric see him for a very brief moment as he gives him the thumbs up. Progenitor knows that if more men were like Magneto, then there would be no need for men like him. Icarus meanwhile assures everyone that Uranos is back in his cell, assuring Cersei that while the mutants wanted to kill him, he told them that it wouldn't help and he would just return, so they owe the mutants something. Progenitor appears and gives Icarus a thumbs up and Cersei a thumbs down, as Iron Man is shocked that she got that, demanding to know what she did to deserve that, but Cersei waves it off as maybe the Celestial preferred her when she wore green. She hopes that he sees the bigger picture here as Eros takes to the Celestial dais to talk with the Celestial, telling him that he has spent years wasting his potential, but the Celestial woke them all up and they had a day to try and justify themselves, and they have done so much to plan for peace and a better future. He knows they can make the world a heaven, but they need more than just a day to do it, and it's not too late for the Progenitor to help them out. Progenitor gets ready to deliver his final judgment, having watched and judged enough. Progenitor gives the entire world a thumbs down, telling them that they have had 1,000,000 years and it would have never been enough since they would always be a better tomorrow. They never realized that tomorrows would run out. Captain America grabs a nearby nearby man to protect with his shield as the Celestial unleashes its red power onto the world, obliterating everyone around Steve, along with the man he was protecting, making the hero lament how they are all going to die now.